Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it is the 28th day of June 2024. And this is going to be an unusual broadcast this morning. I welcome you all to the show today. I have a funeral I'm going to this morning or today for an unfortunate, a tragic, a horrific situation that happened due to the failed policies of the current administration and the past. There was a young law enforcement officer that was shot in Michigan this past week, and it's a horrific thing when we don't enforce the laws. But I'm going to that funeral this morning, and I decided to just come on and introduce the what I'm going to do this morning. I decided to play some of the interviews that I did at Turning Point USA last week. And I'm going to list the ones that I'm going to be playing today. Voice of the People, Daniel and Hollis Smeriglio. And there you can find them on Twitter at Voice. I'm going to call it Twitter, okay? It's X. I was X with Twitter. Voice VOP. It's Voice of the People Radio. So VOP USA Radio. Actually, if you just go to the comments and such, I dropped them all there. But we have Daniel and Hollis Smeriglio, Voice of the People. Casey Whalen, independent journalist. People's Pen, Joel Bevaqua, a New Mexico governor candidate. Joshua James Ryan Lawrence. Behind Enemy Lines, Terry Newsom. And the Brewster Call, Jason Brewster. So I really hope you enjoy this. It's only going to be live. I'm live right now. It's only going to be live up to this point. And I'm going to go ahead and play those videos. So bear with me a minute. This first time that I've done this way. But I think it's going to work out just fine. And so you guys have a great day. Have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you all next week, Monday. And let's see how this works here. I'll see you all next week, Monday. And remember, you're loved. And if you don't have a good example, be one. Don't be the victim. I saw part of the debate last night, and I was absolutely sickened by the words coming out of mumble mouth Biden, the traitor in chief. And all I can say is that once again, President Trump showed his class and his ability to hold his composure dealing with somebody who is a village idiot. Anyhow, have a great day today. And enjoy the world. God made the world for us to enjoy. Enjoy the world and know that you're loved. God bless you. God bless all those whom you love. And God bless America. Her hands. Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and I'm here with Daniel and Hollis, and I'm not even going to try to say their last name because it's a great last name, but I won't be able to say it right, so I'll let you guys say it. And they've been our neighbors here at the booth at Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action, and we have had a wonderful time, and I wanted to do an interview with them because they're like us, right? They're not taking money to do what they do, and they are putting out the truth without being influenced. And this is the strength of where this nation needs to go to overcome fake stream, no good mainstream media. And I'm so glad to meet you and to be able to talk to you. Tell everybody what you're doing.
Well,
you go.
Not ladies first. Well, it's so cool that we met you because you know, not only are you our neighbor booth-wise, but you're an actual real person, a fighter, more than just a talker, a doer.
And we shared a wall.
Yes, we did share a wall.
Yes.
We tore down that wall anyway. But it's so cool. So what we do And it started in 2007 as an activist group. I came out of the military, and I saw some things going on I didn't agree with, so I started holding rallies, and then exposed some stuff in Pennsylvania with the Kids for Cash, notably, and a lot of corruption, and became enemy of the state, kind of. Obama listed me as a domestic terrorist in 2009.
Oh no, isn't that like a badge of honor?
Oh, I was proud. And then held hundreds of rallies in 28 states and fighting against corruption and change. And then I decided, had a radio show offer, made no money, in Philadelphia. Producer told me what I could and couldn't talk about while we were on break. Waited till we came back on air, confronted the producer, told him what I thought of him. He couldn't
How'd
censor
that go
it.
for him?
He couldn't censor it. He was very upset. I think he got fired. Then I walked off the show and said, I'm going online, 2008. I don't need you. 2008. It wasn't very popular then. And I know just as much now as I knew then about technology. But kept the radio show going. Our first show, we had like 1.2 million listeners. It's on blogtalkradio.com.
Wow.
You know, I had a Congressman Paul Kanjorski on, and I kept calling him Paul. And he said, refer to me as congressman. I said, you work for me. You're a piece of trash. I can call you whatever the hell I want to work for you. Needless to say, the interview ended, and that just kind of kept things going.
Just making friends every step of the way, right?
And long story.
That's why I love these people. This is great. They're just like us.
He's uncensored. He's the king of controversy, they called him.
They call me a lot of things. Like I said, once you pass that threshold of like over 100,000 death threats a year, it's like you get this new little thing. You don't make money, but you know.
So start talking about the death threats that you've received.
Okay. So first, the white supremacists always love to threaten me, but then I kind of just said, you know, I hate you just as much as you hate me, and we actually had like a weird little truce going. So that was not like support, but when you treat them as human beings and they don't come and flag their disgusting crap at your rallies, you have Black Panthers and white supremacists hanging out talking, and the media really hates that. Anyway, MS-13, La Raza threatened our lives. One People's Project, obviously Southern Poverty Law Center. They've had me on their target list forever. So they despise me. About 200 foreign actors. MS-13 was a big one, apparently. They really want me dead. I'm not a small person. I'm kind of easy to find. So that's just to name a few. Some former feds threaten me. Of course, I've been, messed with by the feds, censored, banned everywhere. It's a good time.
So have you made it like a little medal for each one? I should
get ribbons.
A Daniel ribbon and pin yourself.
It'd be great.
For how many times you've gotten a death threat.
It would be fun, right?
Yeah.
I'd be like those fake heroes.
It would be like a chainmail suit. You'd have so many medals on you that
all over.
That it would be like wearing armor.
It'd be pretty freaking cool, So the death threats have been expansive, but now basically we kept it going. And 2016 got to meet Trump, and he watched our rally in 2010 in Arizona and told him my name, and he looked at me and he goes, "Why haven't you held the rally in so long?"
So he knew about it.
He remembered. He goes, "I watched your rally in Arizona." He said, "You need to get back out there, get back to work." He asked me how my mother was doing. I said at the rally my mom was sick. He remembered it from the rally in 2010. Just random meeting him in West Virginia. And then in 2019, he invited me to the White House. I got invited to his inauguration, and he invited me to the White House as well. That's a real man. And now we built the podcast / radio show into a 24/7 radio network. We're in 98 countries. We're by 64 million people. Put a lot of money, $200,000 into it at this point, and working 4 or 5 jobs to pay for it. They can't censor us. They can't turn us off anywhere. And then now we're back out there in the activist scene because my life changed wholeheartedly. Like everything changed when I met my soulmate is undercutting. I met the most important and most impactful person I've ever met in my life, and this lady right here. I met her looking for alternative help because I got sick out of nowhere, right? Went to a holistic doctor. Got some help. It was different. Then it was starting to fade a little bit. I didn't want to go to that last appointment. I said, I'll go there anyway. December 14th. I went not this past December, the one before. What is that, 2022? I think, or 23. Whatever. 22. I went there, and then he said, meet Hollis. And
I was working as an assistant. I was, helping with the vitamins and all that stuff because I love holistic health and alternative medicine because the mainstream, everything mainstream I don't like, including music. And so I'm an independent artist, and we're building our record label now, Voice of Freedom, as we speak. I recorded a song called Bringers of the Dawn just a couple days ago, actually, and we're going to put that out. And we do everything alternative, like not against the mainstream, and health as well.
She undercuts herself.
So I was working there, and he came in, and as soon as he started talking, I was like, yep. I was like, we're going to do something together. We didn't know all this was going to happen, but I was like, yep, you're real. We've been fighting the fight like on separate paths for like 10, 15 years, a point where you're like, oh my gosh, you feel alone, you're giving up, and then we met each other, and it was like, boom. You know?
All I can say is you made a very good husband decision with Hollis. I'm telling you.
Oh.
You know, it's like when you see a couple that's as happy as you guys are, it's a really beautiful thing to see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you can see it. It's like you can see it from forever away that you guys really love each other, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's my best friend. I said he's
My
like, I
best
never
friend.
thought I'd meet anyone because we're getting older, whatever. Like,
Oh, please stop
I know.
this. Stop this.
No.
What I'm saying,
You all are young and beautiful. Listen,
I'm
you
60
all,
years old. I'm
God
like
bless
I'm like
you.
your grandma here,
No.
right?
Oh my gosh.
You all age in reverse. I'm
Right.
sitting here at 41. First off, I grew a beard for the first time since I was in the military. Like, where the hell are these gray hairs coming from, right? And I'm sitting here talking to these people, right? And like, oh, they're educated. That's good. How old are you? 20. I'm like, I'm that guy now. I'm
Yeah.
like, back in my day,
Yeah.
you know.
But I even just mean like when I was like,
Hold my beer. I'm 60 years old.
Right.
You know, but the thing of it is I never go back for 1 minute. I love being this age, and you know, I don't feel a sense of loss or regret. I love being 60. I would not go back to 40. I would not go back to 30. I would not go back to 20. And I wish somebody when I was younger would have told me how much better life gets as you get older.
Yeah.
It really does. It gets better. There's hope. You know, there's no loss there. There's and you know, it's like there's a point of settledness when you get older, as you age, that gets to be so profound. You're not things that you thought mattered. It's like, why did I care about this? This is kind of nutty, you know?
Yeah.
And you get down to the things that matter in life, like meeting really good people, establishing nice friendships with people that just really love the world, love God, love the world, want to help other people, and that the reward of doing the right thing is the reward. There's no reward
Yep.
other than the
Amen.
fact
Yes.
that you did the right thing
Amen.
Yeah.
with a sense of honor, like you guys are doing with your broadcast and such, and that's a reward in and of itself, is that you get to do good things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So wisdom you get as you get older. I think that comes from a lot of the pain when you're younger and what you have to go through. But you get to, as you get older, and you get to live that wisdom and realize, like you said, the things that when I was in the music industry, it was like a long time ago. I was still doing it, but you know, you like, well, I have to be this and that, and then eventually you just like no, and then you're doing it for yourself for the right reasons. Well, you know, you always were, but you fall into these traps, and that's when you're younger. So when you could get through all that and you start to enjoy things for the real right reasons. You know?
And let me just say, Hollis sells herself short all the time because
She's
we don't
singer.
have ego. She toured the world. She is like,
Did
she
you?
plays every instrument in the world. She's super creative. She's super intelligent. She had Passion Productions, which aligns perfectly with what we're doing with the record company, with everything that we're doing, just
I
out of
loved
a place
it.
of love.
I said I
and
wanted-
she is the master. I'm sorry, I'm speaking over you.
It's
I'm
okay, but-
mansplaining you. Wait, I'm mansplaining
I
you.
said what I always wanted to do was build as an
She still got the final word.
alternative Hollywood, one that's like just what just people were doing with independent media and stuff. Like there needs to be a new music industry with, you know, real people and not like
Uplifting.
record labels taking advantage,
Uplifting.
manipulating all this horrible stuff that goes on in Hollywood. I learned, like I lived there, I lived it. You know, there was a lot of bad experiences, and I just wanted to build an alternative for music, for putting truth out there and doing it for the right reasons, and we wanted to build our own record company so one day I can help people that and don't have to go through what I did and what many artists have to go through, like at the mercy of record label executives and industry men and all that stuff. It's
Trafficking.
evil. There's bad stuff. You
Oh
know?
yeah, and they blackmail people for sex, and
Yes.
they compromise in
Yes.
that way.
Yeah.
And then all the kids that have been murdered in conjunction of this. I mean, there's cases that you can look up that you can't deny that this is happening,
Of course,
and
it's
that
evil.
it is evil. And then when you listen to the music that tears people down, it makes them angry and demoralizes them. And you know, I go back to the Bible. Satan's job, before the fall, was he was a director of music. And so when we reclaim those areas that have fallen to evil by good people doing good things, we can flip it back the right way.
Amen.
Absolutely.
And it's a huge thing, and the
Yeah.
talents that God gave you both are just amazing, and your experiences, and willing to poke the beast a little bit
Have
to
to.
get a
Yeah.
death threat, so that you're standing and you just don't care.
Hell no, I love it. Well,
Yeah.
bring him on.
And I love it. Look, we're here, like I say, freedom and the Constitution, everything that the men and women, all the people who fought for our rights that we have, and the Constitution, the revolution, everything that they fought for their lives to protect us, have honor, integrity, to do the right thing, and like they gave their life, their blood, the story of the Star Spangled Banner, of their bodies holding up the flag. That is what this is about. And I say the least that we can do is at least speak up with our voices. We're lucky, we're blessed that we don't have to. He was in the Army, and thank you. And everybody who's done that, I didn't have to do that. With the people who didn't have to, like, we didn't have to physically die, but they died for us. So it's our duty to protect the Constitution, protect our rights that they fought to give us. We have them, and when they're doing things to us, the biggest thing we can say is say no to what they're doing. Just use your voice, and that's the voice of the people.
Well, thank you guys for being on. We're gonna do this again when we get back to the studio.
We love you. You're a beautiful person.
We had so much fun
Yes.
this week.
And we can't wait to do a proper interview of you
Yeah, we're
and
so
your
happy we
son
met you.
behind the camera.
We're gonna do
do
more
work
interviews
together.
and talk about all these things because we can work together to bring
Yes.
the real news out there, because it's like real news for real people by real people at the kitchen table here, and adding friends to the home here, the home front. So I really thank you for being on
Thank
today.
you. God
Thank
bless
you for
you.
having us.
And
God
we're
bless you.
and we're gonna do this again, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Oh, you should probably tell where they can find you. Sorry,
I forgot.
I'm going to start over.
Investigative.org.
Time out. I started. Don't edit this out. This is a blooper, but it's real. So, and where do they find you?
VoiceOfThePeopleUSA.org is the long name, but that's the website. www.voiceofthepeopleUSA.org.
There you go. Go check them out. And I'm going to be on there too with them sometime. And
Very
they're going to be
soon.
back on Brandenburg News Network, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and I'm here with my new good buddy, Casey Whalen. It's nice for you to join us today.
Donna.
We've had a great time here talking and such. And you're an independent journalist.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've worked with a bunch of very high-profile people to bring truth forward. Can you tell everybody what you do?
Yeah, so I started out as an activist back in 2017, essentially, and I was concerned about law enforcement not particularly being informed about the Constitution. So I got 140 full-size constitutions from the Idaho Secretary of State's office, and I handed those out to the sheriff and police departments. Long story short, after doing public records requests, I found out I was being disseminated to the fusion centers, and then that my local police department was putting out internal bulletins about me handing out constitutions and filming the police, both constitutional protected activities. So that was the litmus test to me, and so I changed tack from being an activist to becoming more of an independent journalist, incorporating public records into a lot of my work.
Wow, that was probably very shocking.
It was, and especially when I told the community about what was happening, they really couldn't believe it either. And since then it's compounded into, we know the fusion centers are working in tandem with the police departments, the sheriff's, law enforcement, the DOJ, FBI, and essentially the DOJ and FBI are working with human rights networks in North Idaho to report people for engaging in constitutional activities.
Wow. Explain the role of the fusion centers.
So the fusion centers are mandated by, there's generally one fusion center per state, and it's, the main fusion center is mandated by the governor of the state. And essentially every police department has an intelligence analyst that relays and receives information from the fusion centers, and in conjunction with the FBI, DOJ, local human rights networks proactively reporting people for engaging in quote-unquote hate incidences, We are currently living in a police state, and in fact, our Idaho State Patrol is working intimately with these human rights groups and helping proactively report people. For instance, in 2022, on June 11th, 2022, we had there was a Pride in a Park event hosted by the North Idaho Pride Alliance. In a nearby park, there was a Catholic Rosary Walk. The people that were running the Pride in the Park event asked the director of a local human rights education institute to report the Catholic Rosary Walk to the FBI, and I have the email stating, yes, I reported them to the FBI. So this is happening.
It's weaponizing
absolutely
weaponizing our departments, that the unconstitutional departments and bureaus against our people.
And they're using Marxist ideology as the hammer.
Wow, that's like shocking. Well, what else have you worked on?
Oh boy, all kinds of stuff. I've been going to a lot of events over the last handful of years. I've been working with the New American Magazine. I'm good friends with senior editor Bill Jasper and Alex Newman, and I've been conducting a lot of interviews. I've just been doing whatever I could do through public records requests, trying to help other people understand how easy it is to do public records requests, and just trying to inform people. That is an answer to help fight tyranny in your community, is by doing public records requests and exposing it to the community. And it has I can't even specify enough how great of an impact it has. And so my heart is, I want to teach other people to do that, because it's easy, and people are just they're just not aware of how easy it is, and the impact. It's
well,
great.
I think that everybody is kind of like intimidated by the government function, because it's just this massive squid of things that you really can't get your arms around. And when I know that in the state of Michigan, when you go to look for information, it is impossible to find what you need by design, unless you have somebody that can help you figure out this labyrinth of mess that they've created. It's terrible. It's really terrible. Well, I tell you what, I would actually really like to have you come on for a longer period of time.
Sure, absolutely.
And go through that, because I think it's fascinating. Now, you've also been in working with Bundys and...
Yeah, Ammon Bundy, he moved to southern Idaho a handful of years ago. He's since moved due to a defamation lawsuit where he and his friend, my friend too, Diego Rodriguez, whose grandchild, baby Cyrus, was kidnapped by the state of Idaho, and essentially through the network that Ammon Bundy created called People's Rights, which is still online and has a different domain name now due to the defamation lawsuit. But we helped get baby Cyrus back to Diego Rodriguez and his family within a couple days of protesting at St. Luke's in Boise, just getting the word out. We enacted our network and let people know we need people to go to St. Luke's and help get baby Cyrus back, because what they took baby Cyrus for was so minute and ridiculous. It was just he was having a problem keeping food down, and it was kind of making him a little sickly, but the parents were taking care of it, and they're great parents. They should have had their baby taken from them, and thank God we were able to get him back relatively fast.
CPS and these organizations that say they're protecting children are the biggest human trafficking organizations in the world. They're getting paid a lot of money for taking kids out of good families and making up charges that are absolutely false. So, well, that's some really...
And the fallout from that, the defamation lawsuit, one of the things was the People's Rights Network went door knocking, and we're letting, for instance, some of the officers that took baby Cyrus, they made up little hand flyers, and they would take them into the neighborhoods and just let their neighbors know, did you know that so-and-so is helping proactively, basically kidnap children. And so that spawned, I think, a defamation lawsuit, basically, where Ammon Bundy and Diego Rodriguez lost, and were essentially charged, I believe, $54 million between the two of them. So Diego was planning to leave the state. He's in Florida, and Ammon also left the state. They confiscated his house, his home.
Wow.
So it's very tragic, but we got baby Cyrus back. So that was a good thing. But
that was a good thing.
It's tragic, but what do? You got to do something. You have to stand up.
Well, you got to fight, and then take those gains when you can get them. And sometimes you're going to experience some losses, but the only real loss is when we stop fighting against evil. We're in a battle between good and evil. That's what we got going on here. This isn't anything other than that. This goes back to some very, very evil people who are willing to harm other people because they're psychopaths and they like doing that, or they want control, or they're looking for self-gain. And that is evil to the degree that we can't even imagine. People that are normal, that don't think that way, you know. Well, I really appreciate the work you're doing, and I want to set up an interview. Thank
Absolutely.
you for coming
Thank you so much,
on,
Donna.
because this is a Turning Point's great, but also the interviews typically are pretty short, just because there's so many people here. I mean, we've been sitting here, and it's been one right after another.
It's been busy.
I would really like to get into things to
Sure.
a little bit more complete. So we'll just schedule something.
All right, sounds
so
good.
thank you for being here. Tell people how they can find you.
Absolutely. I'm on Twitter, Casey_Whalen. That's WHALEN. I'm on Substack, CaseyWhalen.substack.com, where you can find a lot of the articles I've written about for instance, the DOJ and FBI cracking down on constitutional patriots in a program called United Against Hate. I'm also on Rumble, North Idaho Exposed.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
I love Substack.
Yeah,
and
it's great.
I really like when people take time to actually write real articles on there and educate people. It's amazing. Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll be right back. Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and I'm here with Joel Bevaqua. I got it right.
There you go.
That was a practice one. And he is the author and creator of the People's Pen.
Well, not the author. I'm the ad manager, and the general gopher, do everything to keep the wheels
The guy
rolling.
that really keeps things moving.
I'm just, it's like, so I'm, janitor, trucker, sometimes editor, sometimes, you name it, I do it to get it done.
That's like the best position. It's
horrible.
No, it's great. It's willing to do anything to get the job done, to get the goal. That's the best position on the whole. So tell us how you started with a People's Pen. How did this come about, and what is it? It's in Idaho.
Yeah, so I was living in Santa Monica, California, and I kept getting in arguments with people about if I was wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, and finally there were riots in my neighborhood, and there were tanks on the street on my birthday, and so I heard that Coeur d'Alene, Idaho was pretty cool.
Okay.
But I didn't really know that much about it. Then I found out that on the day they were rioting in my neighborhood, about 2,000 people in Coeur d'Alene showed up with all their guns downtown and scared off Antifa. And they want to say Black Lives Matter. I guess they were kind of one and the same at the time. And the sort of BLM people that were in Coeur d'Alene, they sort of were, I think they were well-meaning, but there was a whole string of anarchists that they were busing in to Coeur d'Alene. But they couldn't do anything because literally, we have pictures in this particular issue, there were like thousands of people with guns all over the street protecting the city. And I said, wow, I think I want to move there because I want to be someplace where people stick up for each other and where they live.
Well, and it goes to the Second Amendment rights to be able to protect in the militia. the militia is the people who are armed and do protect their communities, and so that's a beautiful example. I love that.
Oh yeah.
So how did this get started?
Well, so when I moved there, I thought I would be hunting and fishing and, doing outdoorsy stuff. And, I do animation. So I was going to sit around and just do my animation, drink my cafe mocha. But then you start noticing the things that you noticed where you basically ran from. And I was like, wow, well, we got to do something about this. And I bumped into some people that did like an old paper from Idaho called the Idaho Observer. And I said, hey, I used to do an electronic music magazine called The Heart Data. And I said, hey, maybe we should start up this paper. So we put out this paper that was basically questioning the PCR test and the masks. And we printed about 5,000 copies, and people were into it. Then the local Republican Central Committee couldn't get their ads in the regular paper. And so they said, hey, can we get an ad in your paper? And I said, well, yeah. Hey, you know what? I think if we mail this out as if it was like a grocery store flyer, you could get to every house in the county, thereby totally bypassing the mainstream media, the local mainstream media. And they're like, okay. Next thing you know, our next issue, we print up like 77,000 copies and mail them to everyone in the county. And the bad guys went, what's the word, apoplectic? Is that the word I'm looking for? They went nuts. And so, and actually that was a city election in a heavily, I guess you could say, Democrat stronghold or Rhino stronghold in Idaho. So, but the candidates came within about 20 votes of flipping the city council.
Wow.
And so that was like one of the best results they ever had. So then we just kept going forward with that methodology, and next thing you know, there were 100% win rates on the recommended slate. The Kootenai County, the county we're from, really got a lot of influence on the state politics there as a result of their success. We were part of that. One of the things is Idaho, North Idaho has a strong, independent, liberty, conservative movement in the first place. So we actually gave that a voice, and we were one. And the other thing is we used the paper not as we're just the paper, just listen to us. We used it as a way to bring attention to other media in the area. So if someone was doing a podcast or even another paper, we would talk about them, promote them. We wanted a general dispersion strategy. So we wanted to inspire other people to kind of to step up their game.
That's really cool. So how many pages are in this typically, and how often do you publish it? Is it an ongoing thing?
Yeah, it's ongoing. We're on our 14th issue. Wow. We come out every couple months. What was the question again? It was
how many pages are typical?
Oh, pages. Depends. I like it to be 16 because it's less work and it's not as heavy.
Yeah.
I've been passing these papers out and my shoulders are going crazy here. But they generally tend to be 24. We've had one that was as low as 8 pages that was a special issue. So it's whatever really is effective for the narrative that needs to be out there. Not all of our papers come out right before elections. So we have, we try to talk about Idaho history, get people to know where they're from, what they're all about.
That's really cool. I'm looking forward to taking a look at this. And then do people do it by subscription, or do you guys just pass it out so it's free information for people?
All the above.
Okay.
We have people that subscribe, fair number of them, and it's kind of funny because, I mean, we've mailed them out for free to like 5 counties sometimes.
Wow.
And so they know they can get them for free, but I think they actually subscribe so other people can read the paper.
That's really
you
cool.
know.
How, what's your favorite story that you guys did or that you published?
Wow. Well, geez. We
Top 5 if you need
we
to.
put the most effort, I would say, into this gun to lane issue, the situation that I talked about, you know. But we have one about the Ruby Ridge in our latest issue, retrospective on that. We did my personal favorite, and one of the reasons we're here is we did an article about the People's Party in Idaho in the 1890s. A lot of people don't know that there was a viable third party in America in the 1890s, and it was huge in Idaho. And it was literally called the People's Party. So in issue 9, we kind of did a history of the People's Party.
Wow, I bet that was really interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean, their main complaint is like, look, the Democrats and the Republicans are the same. Let's do our own thing. And it ended up, silver was the big issue. What would back the dollar? Was it going to be gold or silver? Well, Idaho is all about silver. So the Populist Party, they called it populist because it was too hard to say. Like, you could say Democrats, Republicans, but you couldn't say the people's, right? So they started calling it populist. And the Republicans split in two. There was actually the Silver Republicans joined the People's Party and the Democratic Party to form a fusion ticket that actually elected one of our most famous governors.
Wow.
And then 73, I think it was 73 state legislators were elected from the People's Party.
Wow, that is huge. I've never heard of that.
Yep.
It's crazy how much history each state, if we actually talked about that at a state level, because, you know, I'm a states' rights person. You know, I like the 10th Amendment to be always called to the front, and less federal government, less state government too, but less, you know, but defer to the states over the federal government and decentralize a little bit. And then to study what's been done, because there's some wonderful case studies on how to fix things when they're broken.
Right.
So, well, that's wonderful. Well, how can people find you?
Just go to thepeoplespen.com if you don't live in North Idaho. In North Idaho, you can get it at the grocery store, or it gets mailed to you. But you can subscribe if you're nationwide. Just go to thepeoplespen.com.
I think it's a great idea. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's a really great idea, how to get to everyone and break that cycle of indoctrination and narrative by the mainstream, the fake news, you know, fake media.
Yeah, and so, you get to reclaim the post office.
There you go.
Using the post office for something good.
Yeah,
you know?
that is. That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being
All right,
on.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
You know, look up what Joel's doing. This is kind of a creative, wonderful way that you can do things. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Who did
we have a great artist. Dan Brandon is our cover artist.
Dan Brandon?
Yeah, and we have another new artist that just started with us, too. He's doing a kind of conservative comic strip. That's
cool.
come out in the latest issue.
That's really cool. The illustrations in this are fun. That's really fun. Yeah, well, that's fun. I'll read that. Yeah, Black Lives Matters. I think they should be designated as a terrorist organization.
Oh, right.
And Antifa, all of them, because it's nonsense. You don't terrorize people and take away their rights just so you can have a temper tantrum like a child and break things.
Well, you know,
crazy.
One of the things we get in is how organized from the top it is.
Very.
I mean, when they were trying to riot in Coeur d'Alene, they were bringing buses of people over. They were all kind of going to one grocery store parking lot, and it just happened they were just swarmed by people in town that there's a whole story about how people were using like different social media gaming sites actually, where the Antifa people were communicating through these gaming networks. And so we would have, like, moms were having their kids go into and, like, spy on them. So every place they'd go, people would show up, and they're like, how did you know we were going to be here, you know?
Oh,
that's
beautiful.
And they had organizers there. They have people that are like, you know, they get paid. Some of these people get paid.
Well, they're a corporation, like Black Lives Matters is a corporation.
Yeah.
And so people that think they're joining something to promote an idea, no, they're just being pawned. They're just being pawns in a corporate scheme to create chaos.
Right, yeah. And ultimately, those corporations are really at the pleasure of the government. I mean, you know, that's how they're, yeah. And
evil,
so,
like seems to find each other.
Yeah.
Evil finds each other and finds ways to do more evil. That's unfortunate. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I think this is just really wonderful. And I really want to look at this some more. I think this is cool.
Now, are you going to run for governor again?
I never stopped.
Okay,
And
all right.
So like,
Dang.
I'm not conceding. Sued in Supreme Court, sued in federal court. We just had our case last night. That's there. We've got working with the Attorney General's office right now, and we've got 3 people with 27 felonies. And the case got bound over to the circuit court, and the judge went on record for over an hour saying basically that this was the most important and significant case that he's seen. And so I'm hoping that we're going to be able to throw a little bit of a monkey wrench in their election cheating scheme that they've got going on. You know, it starts with President Trump, the rightful president of the United States, which I have to say that. And you know, they're going to try to do it again unless we stand up and create some problems. We got to have the big bumps in the road so that we totally derail their plans.
Right.
And then bring it back to what it's supposed to be, a constitutional republic where everybody's voice matters. You know, it's like when I got kicked off the ballot twice illegally. It wasn't about me. The fight was never about me. It was about all of us. Yeah. And it was about having everybody's voice heard equally. And I think it's a huge disservice to the nation not to listen to everyone's voice, because God builds in us this innate goodness, and when you get so many voices together, the goodness that God built into us is going to rise above and drown out all the evil. So, but that process has to be respected.
Yeah. And the people have to get in the process.
They got to vote. I don't care what anybody says. Get out there and vote. Just because something doesn't work the way you want it to, doesn't mean you stop. You have to take care of your responsibility and always do the right thing, whether or not anybody else does. And God honors intention. So as long as we have good intention and we keep moving, I think He's going to honor that. So
there you go.
I think we're going to get them all. President Trump always said that. We got him. We're going to get them all, and I believe him. He's never been wrong. So anyway,
all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and I'm here with Joshua James Ryan Lawrence, a friend of mine, who is running for governor in the state of New Mexico. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
This is great. So we know each other, and so this is going to be a fun interview because it's not just coming in cold here. And we have a lot in common with Michigan and New Mexico, because as your point you just mentioned is that we're kind of in an experimental state. to see how much people are willing to tolerate, and also for education purposes. So where are we going to go with that? We can go in a million different directions.
Oh, we absolutely can. I mean, number one, we both got a tyrant running this state, right, who's not even lawfully in office. They don't follow any of the rules for running for office, or any of the rules to operate constitutionally in this country.
What is the Constitution? That's Whitmer. She doesn't even know what the Constitution is, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Just like our governor said, it's her oath and the Constitution are not absolute.
Well, that's special.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Whitmer. I mean, she locked us down, and I went to all you all. Josh also ran for sheriff, and I went to about a third to half of the sheriffs in the state, and I interviewed them, and I asked every one of them, why didn't you arrest Gretchen Whitmer for what she did? And the answer was, across the board, who's going to prosecute it? And that does not absolve you of the need to do your job just because you don't think somebody else is going to do their job.
That's
because
right.
they were bad. So what are you planning on doing down there as governor? I think we're going to be on the same page on a lot of this.
Well, number one, by executive order, right when I get into office, all laws that are repugnant to the Constitution will be no more. So basically, that takes us back to 1987, which is when the state of New Mexico was created. So we'll no longer be the state of New Mexico. We'll just be New Mexico, as our preamble says that we are.
What happened in 1987?
In 1987, started by Governor Tony Anaya and completed by Governor King, they hid inside of a workman's comp bill 2 statutes that amend Article 3 of our Constitution, taking away our Article 3 courts and creating the state of New Mexico as the corporation.
Wow, that's like, I'm always shocked on how they hide things inside of other things. We had our proposals or propositions last time that were so deceptive. And these people their MO is deception.
Oh yeah.
And that's how they've done a lot of the evil.
100%.
Yeah, so we've talked about a lot of subjects having to do with, you always blow my mind when you'll throw something out there and I'm like, yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So let's talk to our viewers about things that they may or may not know.
Well, in this country, in America, there's no law enforcement. They all use the term loosely, law enforcement, and majority have no idea. But when you read the law enforcement codes, it states in order to be law enforcement, you must enforce the Constitution and you must be bonded so you can be held personally accountable. Our police academies teach patrolmen. They don't teach the Constitution. There are procedures to be followed for patrolmen. You have to wear blue uniforms. You're not allowed to carry a gun.
They're not allowed to carry a gun.
They're peace officers, not enforcers. They enforce ordinance, not anything else. And
which isn't law.
Right, absolutely. Mandates, ordinances, executive orders, none of it's law. Statutes aren't law. That was ruled by the Supreme Court many times. And ordinances are wishes. Like it's the social compact. We all agree upon, look, we need a stop sign here because we've had a lot of people die here, get in accidents. So, could you please stop there? But as far as giving a ticket, a fine, a fee, forcing court, taking you out of your job, creating judgments or warrants off of those things are absolutely 100% unconstitutional.
Yeah, and it's amazing how the corruption isn't just at the top levels, it's all the way down into our townships and in our small cities on how everything, there's no checks on anything. So these guys and gals are just going in there, we think it's a great idea to do X, Y, and Z, but there's no basis for them to be able to make that decision. There's nothing to constrain them. And the reason I think is because we've walked away from the Constitution. And when you take that first step, it's that slippery slope. It's just all downhill from there. And we've had decades and decades of tearing down this nation and the rights that we were given by God.
That's right. And there is nobody policing the tyrants because there's no law enforcement.
And then they write the rules in their favor.
We have to, in anything that we do to fight against them, who is, number one, going to sign a warrant, and who's going to enforce it? Who's going to make that arrest? Because none of them have the powers to do that. So that's where, the preamble of our Constitution gave us those authorities. The Lieber Code gave our veterans those authorities. U.S. Code 18245 told us that it was our duty to form our constitutional law enforcement, and we never did it. And so they did it, and we just comply. In fact, state police all over the country were created to be that constitutional law enforcement, and for whatever reason, I'm sure we can all look back in our history of how that all fell into place, but they don't enforce the Constitution either. And that goes for the FBI, that goes for our attorney generals. You go to an attorney general's website, a lot of them straight up tell you that what comes out of their office is strictly an opinion. It's nothing more than that, which is the same thing when it comes to judges. Yet judges are still practicing medicine and law from the bench. Most of them don't even have an oath of office, and those that do, it was probably signed in by a judge that wasn't licensed anymore, so there's just so many things down the pipeline in every role in our government that we're unaware of, so we don't know how to fight it. We don't know the remedy and recourse for it, and remedy and recourse at every level has just been hidden away from us, if not just totally forgotten.
Yeah, it is amazing. So nullification is what I'm hearing of anything that's repugnant to the Constitution, which I agree with 100%. That I'm thinking we need to get rid of about approximately 85 to 90% of what is on the books right now.
Absolutely.
And we'll go right back past probably at least to the 16th Amendment, probably the 14th Amendment, and that needs to be struck from the record because they were modifying the original amendments, which is not allowable under the Constitution.
That's right.
And so we've really got a problem with it. So what are the other things that you would do? What's your plan? Do you have a plan?
Yeah, got a huge plan.
I'm sure I know you have a plan. So what's the plan?
The number one plan over the next 2 years is, I've got a fifth wheel. I'm going to be living all over the state, in every county in New Mexico, creating the town halls and bringing the people to the table to help create that plan. What are we going to do? What do you want to do? What is it that's hindering your business? What's hindering your livelihood, your children's education? What can we eliminate? What can we improve on? We got to get the people involved in these decisions because I want to put the power back in their hands, right? I'm not taking a paycheck. I'm not doing this for any purpose other than getting our state back and bringing it to a constitutional level. I want to make the law enforcement true constitutional law enforcement. Otherwise, they're not going to operate anymore. Everybody's going to be able to be held accountable. I'm going to ensure that all elected officials are following the exact rules of being elected in our Constitution, and they're all going to be personally bonded so that they can be held accountable. Because our state Constitution says that if you don't personally bond your oath within 30 days, you forfeit your elected position. And once you have that bond, you have to have it on the Secretary of State's record. The Secretary of State's supposed to have a book of bonds for every elected official in the state. Every county clerk is as well for everybody in their county.
Is that so? What we found in Michigan is a lot of the counties are doing like umbrella bonds,
right?
And that's a problem.
Insurance policies.
Yes.
And what we've also found is that if you take the policy numbers that they may or may not give you,
they don't want to give it to you.
But if you can get them, because we have gotten them, we called the insurance company, and those policy numbers didn't even exist.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So not only are they not following the rules, they're perjuring themselves. So there's nobody calls them calls them out for it.
Right.
Because how do you even get to the information? Because they're hiding everything.
And there's been multiple times through Supreme Court history. I think the last time was in Nebraska in 1956, where every elected official must be bonded, and it cannot be a blanket bond. Because once again, you have to be personally accountable. And any state that has those rules in their constitution, in order to even own a bonding company in the state, you must offer that elected official bond because it's constitutional. Otherwise, they wouldn't even have it. And so when we started contacting all the bonding companies in New Mexico, many of them were like, well, we don't have any sort of elected official surety bond or whatever. I finally found one I was like, oh yeah, here it is. Wow, I didn't even know that existed, because nobody does it.
The background work to find out what's actually there. Not what we think is there, what's actually there. So what else would you do?
There'll be no more taxes. If anything, maybe a small, sorry, I was about to say lithium tax, but
like a consumption tax?
Yeah, same thing Trump's going to do, a luxury tax or something of that nature, but otherwise no taxes. We don't need taxes to provide for our state. I mean, our state's not providing anything anyways. We got the worst roads in the country.
I'll take issue with you on that because I think Michigan is right up there. I don't know how much driving around you've done here, but I'm pretty sure that every mile that I put on my truck when I was driving around equaled 2 normal miles under better conditions.
Well, it's election season, so there's probably some orange cones out there right now.
Yeah, we've got an orange barrel problem is what we have here.
Yeah, somebody's making a lot of money off those barrels.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I was riding around, and there's like 20 miles, 4 different lanes of orange barrels, rows of orange barrels.
And nobody working?
Nobody working. And I'm going down, so I got my camera out, I set it on the dashboard, and I started to, I had a driver, of course, and I was recording this as we went down the road, and I was looking at the equipment, and there's no equipment there. And finally we go past like 3 pieces of junk, low-level equipment that you couldn't do 5 feet of road with. That kind of stuff is just irrelevant equipment. I'm going, yep, there's 150 feet of irrelevant equipment and 20 miles of orange barrels. Who owns the barrel company?
Right. And how much do they charge per barrel?
Right.
Is it like the toilet seats in the White House are like $10,000 a pop?
You know what I found out on ours? It's owned by a company, and they ended up making a new rule that you had to have the reflective tape on the barrels, which didn't, under any studies, improve the visibility of these orange cones at all, but it raised the barrel price in a significant amount per barrel. And I'm like, okay, there you go. And who's related to the guy that has the barrel company? Who did the deal on this to trash all of our barrels and have to have new legislation just so they can get a payoff on the backside? That's happening.
Do they have insurance on those barrels? So if somebody hits them and now they're dented, they also get an insurance claim on
I don't know, but that's a really good question to ask right there. There's got to be something there, because all these people do is figure out a way, because they're parasites.
Right.
This is the parasite class. They find out other ways to bite into the things that they should not be partaking in for themselves.
Everybody gets a piece of the pie.
Everybody does. So what else would you do?
All 3 lettered agencies will be removed from New Mexico.
Gone.
Maybe we'll leave a liaison or something. But we're going to minimize our local governments. So no more Department of Education, no more, all these groups. Literally, maybe we'll be back down to 5 or 10 departments.
Which ones would you keep?
The Interior, the Treasury, Agriculture,
FCC?
Well, we got to get FCC back on target.
We got to get that back on target. So you wouldn't kick them out. I've got a bunch of them I'd kick out.
Because right now, I mean, in fact, there's
FBI out of here.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
CIA, no more. The clowns in America. Time for you to go bye-bye.
I mean, of course, we build the wall.
Yes.
I will start the wall day one. And I like Ryan Zinks ran for Congress in Texas. He's one of our J6ers. Ran against Jody Arrington, head of the Ways and Means and Budget Committee. But anyways, he had a 50 by 50 plan to where every 50 feet on the border there will be a 50-foot wall and a 50 caliber machine gun. And we'll just, protect our borders.
Every 50 feet?
Every 50 feet.
Well, that's like go big or go home time, isn't it?
We're the 5th largest state, man. We got a big border down there.
There you go. I was talking to, I'm friends with John Ferguson, and he does the drones and such, and his way to approach it is really interesting. They got the robo-dogs down there and such, and he said, you want to see people that are criminals run, stick a robo-dog on them, and they're done right there.
Yeah, if we have a leash on DARPA, I might take some robo-dogs. But, we've got all the military bases down in New Mexico, one of the most guarded ones in the whole world, Los Alamos. And DARPA's right there. I mean, and they've been a part of a lot of negative things. So
they're kind of all working together. Okay, what else would you do? This is governors plotting to take this nation back right here.
Did I already say we would put the people back in charge, allow the parents to create the curriculum? As long as we have a basic curriculum for the schools, we'll allow the parents in every county, depending on what the strengths of their county are, to create the curriculum.
Trade schools, yes or no?
Oh, absolutely.
Trade schools, yeah.
100%.
2 thumbs up.
Not that I haven't been talking about this all weekend and all week, or for years already, and I can't think of a lot of the things at the moment, but
It's been a long day. I mean, we're coming to the end of the day. President Trump is getting ready to come out here at Turning Point, and but I wanted you guys to meet Joshua here because we've had some wonderful discussions, and there's some really good candidates out there that you need to get to know and really communicate to the good candidates and stand behind them. So let people know how to get a hold of you.
you can find me on any platform, Sheriff Joshua James or Gov Joshua James. Joshua James Ryan Lawrence. There's a lot of different avenues on, like I said, every platform. I still have sheriffjoshuajames.com. Soon I'll have govjoshuajames.com. But you can find me. Anybody who wants to find me can.
Well, I think we should get back on BNN for a longer interview. And, really, this is kind of nice. We're at Turning Point here and supporting everyone here at Turning Point. This is a great organization. I think this is so well run. It's amazing. And President Trump, the rightful president of the United States, is going to be on in a few minutes. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you,
let's have lots of discussions because I think that you get good people together that are willing to stand up and have a lot of ideas that we could fix all the problems that we have. We don't have to be afraid of change or the things that need to happen. Sometimes you have to go through a time of change in order to right what's happened, and it's our fault. The things that have happened here are in part our fault because it wasn't. We really didn't know. We really didn't know how bad it is, but we in fact allowed them to take over our country. I mean, we're in an active war right now in the United States of America. Now we're going to have to band together, get past our petty differences, get past the political parties, and stand together as Americans in order to right the ship. And we're willing to do this. And,
That's right.
And we're going to listen to everybody's ideas and change everything you know in the way that politics works, because politics suck. And nobody
We're not
believes it.
politicians.
We're not politicians. I never even went to a political event except for a Trump rally before I ran as governor, and that's the truth. And I didn't want to have anything. I hated everybody because I thought they were all liars, cheats, and thieves, and they are. And so it's going to take people from the outside. You need to run. Everybody out there needs to run for something. I don't care what it is. It's going to take all of us who have the courage to step forward and do things that are difficult. And you know what? Whatever God calls you, He will equip you to do. You just have to walk forward in faith because He's going to lead us out of this captivity. And I really do believe
Amen.
this. So
Courage is contagious.
courage is contagious.
Right.
There
God
you go.
already told us He won.
He did win. He always wins.
All we have to do is put action out there.
We just got to stand or walk, whatever He tells you to do, and it's going to be fine. I think it's going to be okay. Well, thank you so very much, and we'll talk to you. I'll schedule you when we get back home. And
Governor for Michigan, I will come up here and help you run as much as I possibly can.
that's awesome. I love that. And we stand together, and it's like I could snap the cameras on anytime you want and get a message out there, and use the video any way you want, because I really do believe that we need to support each other. Those of us who really want to do the right thing and can't be bought, can't be coerced, can't be threatened. We're not willing to go to those areas because we stand in faith in God without fear, unwavering. And we'll see you in a little bit. Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and I'm here with Terry. How are you, Terry? Terry Newsom.
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Well, I had a conversation with Terry, and of course you all know my focus is on election integrity and also child trafficking. And the things that Terry brought forward were so interesting that I wanted to give him time to talk, but I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do a shorter interview today, a half hour. Y'all know that we do long interviews. And then I'm going to bring him on when we get back to Grand Rapids so that we can show the FOIAs and the stuff that he's pulled, actual evidence and admissions from people. This is one of the biggest issues of our time, and everybody needs to be educated on this and be willing to step up. So please share anything you want, because I think we could probably talk for 20 hours and never run out of topics.
Yeah, so being from Illinois, we have problems with voter integrity and human sex trafficking. So
it's epidemic.
It is. It is everywhere. Illinois, I was raised in the southwest side of Chicago, an Italian American, all Democrat union family. My dad worked for the city. My uncle Mike was president of People's Energy. I'm in 2 unions, even though I switched careers. I'm still in Screen Actors Guild. I used to be a stuntman. I worked an electrician, a grip, and a stuntman in the movies. I changed careers.
Which movies? Can you tell movies? Okay.
Untouchables, Excessive Force, Hoodlums. As a stuntman, and then I was an electrician and grip most of my career, and then the back end I finally got my SAG card, and then it was right before Hollywood punished Chicago, 1995. They stopped coming because of our unions. You know, I'm a union guy, but unions are at times just crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and so then I got into high-tech sales and changed my life. I grew up in the southwest side in a 700 square foot house. I live between doctors now. So I'm still blue collar, I'm still blue collar. Your son saw me. I had to take off my Home Depot headsets. Right? I work for a big consulting firm, but I'm still, who I was when I was raised in the South Side.
Well, I think that's true of a lot of us who have actually had some measure of success, is that if you grow up and you're really poor, and I was, right? When you grow up poor, you learn how to work, and you learn how to MacGyver your way through anything.
Yes.
With this booth that we put together here at Turning Point, this is where I go to touch my backdrop like I do at home. We put this together in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And because I didn't know that I was coming until this past week, but we literally put everything together in 2 days. And when you grow up where you're poor and things, it's the greatest gift of your life, because you learn to do things in an alternative way. You think your way through the problems, and you find great solutions. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm never sorry.
No, I'm proud that I'm a South Sider. It's who I am.
I'm really proud that I wasn't privileged,
Yeah, you brought up a good point. I think the problem that America's facing right now is because not enough the people, these young kids, they forgot what it's like. They got soft. And then we got China, India, all these people who are poor, and they're working their butts off to climb to the top, right? And they're working hard.
Right.
And we can't even, we're worried about pronouns and other crazy stuff. And the college student, it's crazy. And that's why we're being crushed. We don't have enough people involved.
And we don't have people that will work. You can ask my son when we're done here, but his designer jeans, no and absolutely no. It's like, there's your Wranglers, be happy with them, because you've got something to wear today, that sort of thing.
Yeah, one black and white TV and one phone with a cord. We didn't even have the long cord. I'd go by someone's house, wow, they got a long cord. You remember? Right? It's like,
I do. And remember, I was a really little kid, so to dial the dial phone, it would almost break your finger going around, because you'd have to crank on it.
Especially when you're excited, calling a friend, you're trying to hurry, you kids don't know what that's
mangled fingers trying to get the phones to work and such. So anyhow.
Yeah, sorry. It's not why we're here.
No, well, it kind of is.
It's tied together.
It is, because you know what? It's all about us being real people and just sitting down and having real discussions and being able to realize that we're all the same and we've got something to relate to. And the stories just make everything so rich in our experience here. But let's talk about the whole stuff in Chicago, because there's about 5 topics we hit on when we talked earlier.
Yeah. So if you like, I could
You go
kind of
anywhere you want.
highlight the things, and then we could do deeper dives.
I
kind
wanna
of like
do
my
that.
my roadmap of how I got here
Yeah,
from
this
nothing.
is like the timeline,
Yeah.
and then we're going to go to the textbook.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've never been involved in politics. I was raised a Democrat. Didn't know anything other.
Because
and-
politics sucks.
Yeah, my mom and dad are in their 80s. They're both alive. And my mom, when I started gravitating, I say transitioning. I transitioned. My mom would get mad. Oh, the Republicans are greedy, corporate. Maybe it was like that now. Now it's the other way, right? The corporate greed is on the Democrat
It's
side.
on both sides.
Yeah,
and so,
yes,
I mean,
that's true.
The thing of it is we got a uniparty, and they're working
Yeah,
together.
true. Oh my God, it's bad.
To make people believe a false narrative.
Yes. Yep. So I 3 years ago, my kids were going into freshman year of high school. My twins. I'm a grandpa dad, and I went to my first school board meeting like in August before it started because of the forced masking. Right? I was mad about that. And then so I showed up to a board meeting late, 30 minutes late, and there's like 10, 12 moms and one dad, which is normal, I found out. The moms are doing this fight. You probably know that, right? The mothers are fighting more so than the fathers. And so I'm like, how come you guys aren't in the school board meeting? And they go, well, we got kicked out, the one mom said. I go, for what? She goes, well, I went over my 3 minutes. I didn't know what that really meant at that time. But I knew that the board is, radical leftists, and they've been disrespectful to the parents.
Right.
And then I go, listen, I'm going to teach you how to fight like a ex-Democrat Union Southside Italian. I go, and I'm going to give them the same lack of respect they're giving you. And they all smiled. Well, sure, and I'm national attention for that. And I really meant it because they're abusive. Even through their mask, you could see the disdain and disrespect for all the parents that showed up.
Yes.
And then that's when the mom showed me the genderqueer book. Are you familiar with genderqueer?
No, I'm not.
Oh my
I'm
God.
not familiar with it.
They showed it to me about Freaked. It's genderqueer, and they have oral sex images of a girl wanting to be a boy wanting to be a girl, performing oral sex. When I saw that, I'm like, this is not in the school. I was floored, right? And I thought, okay, I'm going to get Democrats, Republicans. I was more mad about that than the masks.
Yes, I would be out. If my kids had been in there, I'd been outraged. I homeschooled my kids because I was done with it 36 years ago. I was done with it. Said, I'm just totally done with this. But it's just gotten so over the top crazy with what they think is okay to do to children, to groom children, and they're ruining people's lives.
Separate us from our kids.
Yes,
it's
destroying the family.
And so they were saying it's not porn because the author's intent isn't to stimulate and arouse, and it serves an underserved community. I'm like, it's an oral sex. I mean, it's like nasty. The guy's on his knees with an earring, a boy wanting to be a girl, and it's like crazy. So crazy. I blew up the posters from the book. There's more. I'm not going to get. It's all kinds of nasty stuff. It's cost me $350. I had 6 big posters. Nobody would hold them for me.
Really?
Dads don't even, they're scared because you'll see what you'll hear what happened to me later, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm not scared. Oh my God, Antifa, they all came after me.
Domestic terrorists.
Yes. So I couldn't get anyone. So I had a friend that was in my neighborhood that was a Proud Boy, father. I said, listen, could you guys come and hold these signs? Come as fathers. They're not anything they say they are. They're not racist, white supremacists and stuff. So 12 of them came and they held my signs. And then a bunch of parents didn't come because they were intimidated. I told them, I said, yeah, I got these Proud Boy guys coming, but they're coming as dads. I don't want them to distract from our message. Right, so I told them the truth, so we'll have the signs held, you don't have to worry about it. But they were still scared, so it's me and like 200 leftists. And they held the signs, I yelled at them. They had 2 law enforcement agencies, riot gear and FBI there. Remember when Garland put that message out?
Yes.
In August? So this was in September or October. And they showed up. One of the moms that's a radical leftist husband was an FBI agent. He was there with his partner, and they had riot gear, and so that kind of was on the news. It kind of launched me. Sun-Times did 3 full pages, front page. Proud Boys show up to disrupt board meeting. They said nothing.
Nothing
They just
about
held,
being dads.
They just held my signs up.
Wow.
And I'm yelling at the school board. I'm pointing at the rubber thing. I'm like, that's porn, And so as I got more familiar with that, then they had children's drag bingo in my library. Children's drag bingo for 6th grade and up. They had a man named Aurora Devine, a transvestite from Boys Town, that was going to come to my library and sing Katy Perry songs and play bingo. I led that protest. We shut it down.
That's awesome.
then the Methodist Church in Downers Grove, where I live, has a transgender. It's not my church. I'm a Catholic, but they're all working together. All these crazy people from the school, the library, right? They're having drag Santa Claus in Christmas in the parking lot. Drag Santa. So I went dressed up as Bad Santa. Remember the Bad Santa cart, the movie?
Yeah.
So I went in my real Santa outfit I had for my kids, and we had to wear masks on, like the gruffy mask and a cigar. It looked just like Bad Santa. HBO happened to be filming there. It was on the HBO special, and they're all leftists. Santa, why are you here? And I'm like, I'm here because you guys are indoctrinating children. I go, if these young children are so naive and innocent that they think Santa is bringing them presents, right? They believe in Santa. They don't know if Santa's a transvestite, if he has a winky or not. I go, you guys are doing this for us. You're doing this to indoctrinate. This has nothing to do with a gay child when they're that young.
Right.
Right? So guess what they're doing this month in Pride Month? They're having Pride reading for 2-year-olds to 6-year-olds, my library. 2-year-olds to 6-year-olds.
It's time to shut these schools down. This is crazy. If this is what schools have become or libraries have become, it's time to shut them down.
So
this isn't okay.
That got me involved. I'm like, this is crazy, right? I mean, it's crazy that no one's out like going to war for our kids. So then I started learning about how the rhinos. I became an elected committeeman. So the mom said, "Oh yeah, you'll be more important in front of the board." I don't want to go. Then the rhinos didn't want me to run that rhino establishment because I'm like radical.
Yeah.
I'm a right-wing extremist, and I won. I 62 to 38%. I crushed their guy, and I walked around. I showed all the porn pictures to the parents in my area. I'm like, this is in our kid's school. They're like, wow. And I killed the guy that lived there for 28 years. And so I started as a committeeman. I did go to January 6th peacefully with the police officer, a friend of mine.
When you say you killed a guy,
I'm sorry, I killed him in the election.
That's a
yeah. Sorry. Oh my God. Yeah.
I always say that when people say
Yes.
it, I always say, now don't get stupid out there and grab your torches and pitchforks.
Oh my God! I'm so glad you said that. 'Cause I screw up like that sometimes.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I knew what you meant.
yeah.
I knew what you meant. You took him out in the election.
Yes, I peacefully attended January 6th with a police officer friend of mine, and matter of fact, January 5th I was on an IV for immunotherapy for skin cancer, stage 3. I shouldn't have went. My friend begged me. I knew him since I was 14. He's 15, a year older than me. So he's like, Terry, you just relax and rest in the car. And I'm the kind of guy from my school. Crazy shit always happened to me. Always. I'm like, we're pulling a decide.
You
seem
something like that. One of those guys that's like that.
I'm like, I go, Rob, something goofy's going to happen. And sure enough, that happened. We went down there to see Trump and to protect people from being beat up, even though we're older. We saw in November and December, people like my mom's age, they're attacking them, turning tables over. That's why we went there. There was no insurrection.
Yeah.
And then
it's a Fed insurrection.
Yeah. So then FBI went to my friend's Cook County Sheriff office with our pictures that month. He just retired, and his old boss called him. He's like, yeah, I know Rob, great guy, just retired. And when they found out he retired, they didn't do anything. I'm assuming if he was still an officer, they would have made an example of him. We didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
We didn't go in, we didn't fight. We were there, but we didn't do anything wrong, and nothing happened. Right? 2 years later, guess who I get a visit by? FBI. After the Southern Poverty Law Center did a hit piece saying I hate women, all this stuff, then they started tagging my work. On Twitter, they started tagging the FBI, saying that I tried to overthrow the government. The author of the story said, when we asked Terry Newsom why he tried to overthrow the government, no answer. They never asked me that. I never tried to overthrow. I left before.
Well, they lie.
Yeah.
All of them lie. Fake stream media lies.
Then all of a sudden I was a domestic terrorist. I didn't know until we were going to TPUSA and I had my twins and my wife come. My kids were VIP guests. We go to O'Hare Airport and all this crazy stuff happened. They took my family in the back, their 2 friends. We missed our flights. And the one of the agents goes, he says, man, you're on a list with really bad people. I'm like, that's how I found out. And Matt Gaetz had one of his attorneys reach out to me in January. And he sent a demand letter in my name. It's pretty cool. It's in Congress and to Garland, Ray, and Mayorkas in my name. I'm demanding to know why you did this to Terry Newsom, blah, 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 blah. They all acknowledge it. Not one of those 3 scumbags responded to Matt Gaetz. So I talked to him again tonight. In 2 years, they didn't. So if you're in that position and you make somebody a domestic terrorist, right? And a congressman asks you, don't you think you'd say, well, he did this, this, and this? They never answered him. They don't even answer them when you see them on the TV shows, right?
So
they
they're
lie.
totally rogue.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did. And so then so next time I flew, it was even worse. I went to CPAC, and then I go through the high-level security. Then I go to get on my plane. They got 5 agents coming with the cart, the bombed cart, and undercover marshals pull me out before I get on the plane. So then the next time I traveled, Matt's letter came out, and then Congressman Troy Niels from Texas reached out to me, wrote a letter to the TSA, and I had to fly for work. I'm like, oh my God, I'm with all my exams. I'm like going to a conference. I'm a nervous wreck. I left early, and all of a sudden I'm off. I was off the list. But they did take my TSA pre-check. I'm a platinum TSA, so those letters helped me, and I'm off the list. And I had the FBI at my house in March, 2 years after the fact, and it had to have something to do with the Antifa guys, Southern poverty. They put me in sedition hunters that they tracked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they got 3 pages on me in there. And
I believe that's part of K2 attached to Kroll.
I think the Antifa guys are working together.
Well,
all of them. They're all the same scumbags.
There's a structure behind all of them.
Yeah.
And you can look at organizations like K2.
I don't know who that
and
is.
Kroll.
I want to look that up.
Yeah, you and I have to talk a long time
Yeah.
because there's a lot going on there and they were involved with the said security of J6. And so you can look at all the players that were in
Wait
place
till I'll
there.
send you my videos.
Yeah.
Laura Logan. I sent her, and so I mean I got videos behind Epps just coincidentally, and then the Buffalo guys that look like Antifa. I got crazy
I
footage.
love that shaman. I think he's hilarious, Jacob. He's hilarious.
So that's another chapter. Then I was one of the only guys. There's 4 of us in the whole country that put a petition, the same Amendment 14, to keep Biden off the ballot in Illinois. So I'm sitting next to all the Trump guys against Trump. I'm next to Biden's attorney. We're debating in front of the election board. And then, so we said that Joe Biden shouldn't be on, they said Trump for election. For Joe Biden, we said he doesn't deserve to be on the ballot because he provided comfort and aid to the enemies. So remain in Mexico. He didn't listen to the Supreme Court, right? So all the cartels, our enemies, our military enemies are coming in, right? Texas, Supreme Court, he went to the Supreme Court to try to stop them from defending their own border, and that's going to help the enemies. Afghanistan, he left the weapons behind. So that was our debate, our argument. While their debate was the Senate Judiciary hit. Oh, sorry, I'm talking too long.
No, you're not. Keep going.
And so
that's what I said. We could probably talk for 20 hours.
They threw ours out, saying that ours was hearsay, politically motivated. I'm like, hold on, the Supreme Court? I go, I said yours. I pointed out theirs is politically motivated. Ours is the Supreme Court. So they threw it out, right? And then the next phase, I started getting involved with. They started dropping the Venezuelans into Chicago, right? And then Mayor Brandon Johnson said, you can't come into Chicago anymore. So they started dropping them off in the high-end suburbs, right? They'd take the buses, drop them off at our train stations. So my neighbors would call me, they're like, all these Venezuelan men. So I go there, I start confronting them, and I got some of the pictures here. And we'll talk about it in depth. The Trendelargua gang, it's a prison gang. This guy just got off the train from Mexico in my nice suburb, is flashing gang signs. That's how grateful he is. This guy, Venezuela, this guy flashes Trendelargua. This guy here, yeah, these are drug dealers. So they're all over Chicago. Then I started going to the shelters. I got inside some of the shelters. They have metal detectors, wands, and that led me to doing the police FOIA reports. Then I got human sex. This is a police human sex trafficking using the Vortex phone, which is the Obama phone back from the Obama days. It's called Vortex phone. And then they're using WhatsApp app, and they're taking images. The police found 10 images about sexual acts and stuff, and they're using women. This one is about a 11-year-old girl being targeted within the center by another Venezuelan to try to groom her. They're beating the heck out of their women with the phones, without the phones, strangling them, dragging them by their hair. They're stabbing each other. I have 1,000 FOIAs from 3 locations of 30.
Wow.
And it's crazy. And then I have Catholic Charities. I'm a Catholic. And Catholic Charities is getting paid billions of dollars to help take these people, and they're basically the logistic and distribution arm of the cartels. So I took a Spanish-speaking buddy to the Inn of Chicago location where the Venezuelans were. He translated for me. I had these 2 men there. I go up. I'm like, yeah, I'm Catholic too, And then so it kind of broke the ice. And my friend, I'm like, ask him if the Catholic Charities is helping him here. And they go, oh, see, you know, and he's like, yeah, they're helping them. I go, did they help you in Mexico? Yeah, they helped in Mexico. I go, did you have to go through the cartels to get to Chicago over the border? Yes, they did. And they're getting paid tons. So we have all the emails and the FOIAs of Catholic Charities with the deputy mayor, the city of Chicago, state of Illinois, Northwestern University, ComEd, People's Energy, giving these people home, you know, Catholic Charities was putting them in 50 apartments per day. And we got homeless people living in tents under bridges.
Wow. Well, I look forward to going through this in depth with you.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. These are my best favorite interviews when people come on and they just talk, because we need to hear what you have to say. All of us do. And I really look forward to going through the pictures and you know, your photos and the FOIAs and such at a later date. And I'm really thankful that you came on
Thanks for having me. Share
tell,
the story.
Tell everybody how to find you.
Yeah, so the best way to find me in one spot, if you go to Twitter, X, at Terry Newsom 357, Terry Newsom, Newsome 357. Then I got my link tree there for everything else.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for being on today. This is really
thanks
informative.
again.
Really
Thank
informative
you.
and wonderful. Thank you. And we'll have you on soon.
All right.
Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and I'm here with Jason Brewster. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Got a media row booth just like you have, and it's my first real major outing at a place like this as a media row person rather than an attendee. So it's just a whole. This still doesn't feel real, you know.
It takes a while to learn it, doesn't it? I don't know. I mean, I got to tell you how I started, right?
Sure.
So I started, and I'm friends with General Flynn, and he said, you got to start making videos,
Michael
Donna.
Flynn.
Yeah. He said, you got to start
great.
making videos. And so he's not very secure. He's a good guy. And so I stood in front of my horses because I was not a person who got in front of the camera. And I'm like, come on, buddy, we can do this. We can do. It took me 2 hours the first time. I didn't get 30 seconds of good video. I'm like, I can't talk. The camera comes on. I'm done. Walked away. Kept coming back. But after a while, I just pushed the go button and said, good as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, I've found like you don't necessarily need all the fancy podcast equipment. I mean, I purchased probably like a $20, similar to these microphones we're wearing, and we were just wearing them when I was over.
Yeah, I was on his show. It was great.
She was great. We
had a great time.
Had an interview, but the microphone, that was probably my only purchase, and everything else I already had. I honestly, if I'm going to be honest, I think I brought too much stuff. But you know, Scouts Honor, be prepared, is my attitude here. But what I've found is, you and a phone camera is all you need to make a difference. If you have a message, the people will come and do that message and listen to you, and then you can use that platform to help spread other people's messages and tell other people's stories. So it becomes a growing, it's a multiplication game in this media space, especially because the mainstream media is so in derelict of duty. I refuse to call myself a journalist. I consider myself a wordsmith, which is roughly a combination of James O'Keefe with Angel Studios, if that makes any sense.
There you go. So what inspired you to do this?
Honestly, I don't have a solid explanation. I can tell you that I I mean, I have a face for it. I had 2 false starts. I had a YouTube channel called Gaming Wizard 101, and then one called Captain Creativity. It was Cyber Dialogue 88, Gaming Wizard 101, which was just a name change, and now then Captain Creativity. And then I created a second channel because the first time was just 3 name changes, and then the second one is Jam and Jay, which was like music stuff. But none of those really worked, and so I started getting involved in the sort of political realm and realized that I can't be the only person in my generation. I mean, that's what they want you to believe, that you're the only person who believes the way that you do. But in a country so big and a world so big, there has to be other people. And I mean, that's one benefit of the internet, is that you can kind of connect with different people. Even though we're more disconnected, we're also more connected. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, well, you can exchange ideas very easily now.
Very quickly,
and
too.
very quickly in a broader space than what we used to, which is great. So what's some of your most memorable interviews that you've done?
Well, actually,
Because you tell stories, right? You're about putting out stories and truth.
Well, I'll go back to the first interview because I'm going to be honest. Most of the interviews I've filmed, just a few interviews today is probably the most I've filmed in one day. But the only other interview that I've had prior to this was someone who I met at America Fest. His name is Dr. William Moravitz, a college professor in Texas. And usually you expect, I'm from the state of Massachusetts. And you get to keep that in because it's a funny little play on words there. You expect somewhere like that in a tyrannical one-party rule state to be the one that is censoring people's viewpoint. Guess where Dr. Moravitz was from? He was in Texas. And academia, because he wrote a book about policing in America, and it had some statistics basically saying it's on a case-by-case basis, but a lot of these things are more dramatized in the media than they actually are. And he didn't just assert it blindly, he had statistics to back it up. He went to CPAC, promoted his book, and then was fired. And the method is always the same. There's probably a bias reporting system. I think he was being racist against me, or I think he's discriminating on the basis of my gender identity. And they use that as a pretext to take somebody down. So Dr. Moravitz, my first podcast interview, even though it was virtual, was his first podcast interview after winning I'm going to butcher the numbers, like $270,000 settlement. Now, he didn't win, he didn't get an apology. He received a settlement, and was told, you're never going to work for any of our campuses again, which is fine because he didn't really want to. But he had a lot of good insights about the place of conservatism in the culture war, kind of how it's changed over the past 50 years, give or take, because he's lived it.
Well, it's amazing. I bet that was a really interesting interview.
Well, it's also, he's an academic, even though his primary forte is in criminal justice, still I identified with his articulate. He was able to speak with confidence on subjects, and even though I am no expert on every single subject, I kind of pick up bits and pieces here and there of different things, and I also know which things I prioritize over other things.
What's your priority list?
Well, free speech is number one. Okay. But as a rule of thumb, I'm more of a domestic policy guy. I can tell you very basic, here's what I think we should or shouldn't be doing. For example, I don't think the Ukraine war is a good use of our American taxpayer money. But notice it's that second half that's the key part, our American taxpayer money. If we weren't funding them and it was just a random war that we weren't involved in, I really wouldn't care. But because our elected representatives have voted time and time again to put us more in the deficit spending and to send more money to Ukraine and Israel now, it's almost like they force it to become an issue because it's impacting our tax dollars. So I care a lot, free speech, culture, because the Breitbart politics is downstream from culture, and all of the other ones are really offshoots of that. I mean, the Second Amendment is the final check and balance against a tyrannical government. If all of the other amendments fail, if all the other checks and balances fails, you've got an armed citizenry. Pro-life issues, I think that stems again from culture. You want a culture where abortion isn't necessarily illegal. It's unthinkable, because who would want to do that? And so it's just a lot of these nitty-gritty issues kind of fit under a broad umbrella. One other thing is that I don't really like to be categorized. I mean, the conservative label is one that's still kind of new to me. I used to be more on the left-wing side. I had to, grow up and actually be hit with reality. But for me, I have the temperament of a centrist, where I feel like if a left-wing person were to watch this very broadcast, they'd be like, you know what, he has a point. And that's something I take pride in, that I'm kind of able to be a good ambassador for what I believe, to articulately state it and kind of make the affirmative case. Like I said, I don't like to be put in a checkbox, and so my attitude is, ask me about a specific issue and I'll tell you what I believe.
There you go. Well, it's nice to approach it that way, because a lot of people want to just ram it down your throat all the time.
Well, I mean, Trump is a great president, but he did a bump stock ban, and that goes against shall not be infringed. I mean, he's a great man. I think he has a lot of strength. I don't know if I could go through what he's going through and still be okay. I mean, in a micro sense I have, but certainly not to his level. But I think that the bump stock ban is something that I can criticize him for, because I'm not blindly following a man or a party. I have principles, and when something goes against the principles, I can call it out. For example, the left-wingers around when Obama was elected, they were like, oh, Bush is bombing children in the Middle East, and it's so terrible, and we shouldn't have that. Okay, elect Obama. He gets in and starts bombing children in the Middle East. Shouldn't there be a greater moral outcry from the very people, because it's now your side doing it?
And there's silence.
Yes, but yet what ends up happening is now it's somehow okay because our guy is doing it. But I'm not going to be like that. If Trump starts infringing upon our free speech rights, which I don't think he will, but as a hypothetical, if Trump starts doing something that I don't like, I can call him out for that, because it's not a blind loyalty to a man. It's not a blind loyalty to anything. It's critical thinking, which I think is severely lacking, and nuance is severely lacking, especially in this younger generation that wants to put themselves in the box, whether it's the Myers-Briggs, the astrology, I'm a Sagittarius. I mean, there are so many different personality tests, so many different things you could identify with. That's why the gender thing is able to take so much root, is because people want to fit in, people want to have a label, I'm blank, I'm this, but I'm an American. That's a label I'll embrace.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, can you tell everybody how to find you? What's your?
Yeah, sure. So
you've got a broadcast. We had a discussion, because I call it a broadcast, and it's a broadcast, because we go to lots of different areas and such. So
I've been calling it a vodcast because it's a video podcast, but I like that. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna kind of take that.
Yeah, it's called broadcast. That's good enough.
Broadcast. I mean, it's not a copyrighted term. You could look me up anywhere. It's at the Brewster Call on X, Truth Social, Rumble, and I believe also on Getter. Mainly all of my stuff is uploaded to YouTube, but I'm working on porting it over to Spotify, and when Truth Social comes out with their streaming platform, I'm going to be on there. I also have a locals channel. If you go to locals.com/The Brewster Call, I believe is where it's at. If you want to financially support me and also get bloopers and outtakes from different interviews we do.
Like we had one.
Yeah, we've got people saying happy birthday, Trump, and interrupting us. But if you want to see that, go to locals.com, and that's where you can get that exclusive footage. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. It was fun talking with you.
Fun
today.
talking.
Go and find Jason. He's great, and listen to what
I
he has to
appreciate
say
that.
because you know the voices that we need to be listening to are voices like you, real people of real concern that can connect with other people. So thank you so much.
Yeah, God bless.